What if 2025 could really be your best year ever? And I know, yes, you hear that all the time. And we say that all the time. This is going to be the best year ever. But think about it. Think about it. If every year was the best year ever, then that means your life just keeps getting better and better every year, right? Hey, sign me up for that. But what if I also told you that not only could 2025 be your best year ever, but that you only need 2 tips to make it the best year ever? Now, you can go online right now and find people sharing 10 tips to make it the best year ever, 5 tips, 20 tips, whatever. I have 2, just 2 tips for you. And if you follow these 2 tips, I can't guarantee it. I mean, we can't guarantee anything in life, right? But what I can tell you is you will set yourself up for a fabulous, remarkable, successful, and balanced 2025. Are you ready? Let's go, my friend. Welcome to the Discovering Your Calling podcast. I'm your host, Sherry Miter. I'm here to help you unleash your strengths and get clarity on your calling. I believe when you find your purpose in life, fulfillment, joy, and success will follow. If you're ready, pop in those earbuds, hit that follow button, and join me on this journey toward discovering your calling. So what are these 2 tips? These 2 tips that I have to share with you today so that you can have a successful and balanced 2025. And wouldn't you agree, if it's successful and you feel like your life, your work, and your life has harmony and balance, then that's going to make it even better, right? Because that's what we're looking for. And, as we're discovering our calling, we want to have that, right? Because what's the sense of having success if you don't have balance or harmony, as I like to call it? And, you can have all the harmony and balance in the world, but if you don't have success, well, the bills don't get paid. So what are these 2 tips? Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, before we step into 2025, which seems so crazy to say still, let's close out 2024 with a place of gratitude. And I realize we can look back in 2024 and for most of us, life happened. And there were some really great moments, but there are usually some down moments too, maybe some sad moments, maybe some frustrating moments for you. And if we're not careful, we can bring all those emotions with us into the new year. And when we are filled with these anxious, frustrated emotions, they can keep us stuck. So we want to make sure we step into 2024 with a heart of gratitude. And I like to do that by simply taking the time to really look back on the last year and think about what did go right. Because we can think of tons of things that maybe didn't go right. And hey, maybe nothing went wrong for you last year. And kudos to you. Hooray for you. But I know for us personally, there were a lot of stuff going on. But there was a lot of great moments as well. So what I would recommend as you close out 2024, before you start really thinking ahead to 2025, take the time to sit down and write out a list of a minimum of 10, and maybe you can even stretch it all the way up to 100. I would challenge you to find 100 things that you're grateful for that happened in 2024. And this is going to just put your heart in this place of gratitude so that it's more open to being willing to see what happens in 2025. So I hope that makes sense. So that's not one of the tips, but that's just a little extra bonus, or as they say in Louisiana, a lagniappe, which is a little something extra for you. So start with that place of gratitude and write down minimum of 10, but stretch to try to go for 100 of things you're grateful for in 2024. Then we can step into 2025 with just 2 tips to make it successful and balanced. Number 1, the first tip is, what is the one thing you want to accomplish or start doing in 2025? So maybe you've read the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller and Papasan. If not, I highly recommend it. But they start the book off with a Russian proverb that reads, if you chase 2 rabbits, you will not catch either one. Now, what does that mean? That means if you're chasing all these things, and if you have a list of all these goals you want to accomplish in 2025, or all these resolutions you're going to set for yourself in the new year, chances are you're not going to accomplish any of them because you're chasing too many rabbits. And we can't try to chase 2 or more rabbits and expect to catch any of them because we're running here, we're running there. But what if you just focus this year on one thing? But here's the thing that they talk about in the One Thing book is, I feel like I'm saying a Dr. Seuss rhyme here, but the one thing that you choose should set you up that if you accomplished it, everything else will be, as Gary Keller says, easier or unnecessary. So what do I mean by that? So this morning, my husband and I sat down and we talked about what is the goal that I want to set for my business in 2025. And we came up with a really audacious goal of making $100,000 with my Discovering Your Calling between the book and my course that I'm going to be launching and doing workshops and any other coaching and anything else that maybe comes along the way in 2025. And if I accomplish that goal, it will help me achieve other goals. It will help pay off some of the debt we've incurred in the last couple of years. It will help be able to set us up to take the vacations that we want to take in the future. And it'll just set up for so many other things. So that is the one thing. If I just focus on that one goal, all these other things will naturally happen because of it. And that's what they talk about in the book, The One Thing, is just really honing in on that one goal, one habit, one thing to start doing, that if you did that, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. Now, I want to add that the one thing that you choose as your one main goal for 2025 should be something that scares you and excites you. And in the Discovering Your Calling book and the Discovering Your Calling Academy, we talk about setting hard goals, which is based off of Mark Murphy's book, Hard Goals, The Secret to Getting from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. And with the hard goals, the D stands for difficult. And he talks about that it's got to stretch you a little bit. And I like to suggest that you set a goal that is slightly outside of your comfort zone. Because if it's way outside of your comfort zone, it'll scare you so much you'll just freeze. We do nothing. I used to be guilty of that all the time. I used to set these huge, audacious goals that really were not realistic, and I would never do anything towards them because in my soul, I kind of knew they were unachievable. But when I started setting goals that were just slightly outside of my comfort zone, they excited me because I could see that, yes, with focus, effort, and energy put into it, I could achieve those goals. And when I started doing that, if I focused on it and I only chased that one rabbit, that one goal, I usually did achieve them. And that's what I want for you this year as well. It's like set that one goal that excites you, that pushes you a little out of your comfort zone. That's where the excitement comes. Because here's the flip side. If it's too easy, there's no excitement in it. And that's what the difficult that Mark Murphy talks about. If we know we can easily achieve it, then we don't bother. It's kind of like, when we wait until the last minute to write the paper for a school, for a school project, because we knew it was so easy. We knew we could just get it done in the last minute and didn't really want to work that hard at it. Or it's like losing 5 pounds. At 58, it's kind of hard these days, but it used to be an easy goal. So there's no excitement in it. But if it's something that's going to challenge you, you'll be excited to work towards it. But it's got to be in that space where you also know in your heart and soul, again, with focus, effort, and energy, you can actually achieve it. So my friend, what is that one thing that if you did this, everything else would fall into place in 2025? Now, here's the next part of that step 1 or that tip number 1 is once you figure out what that one thing is, I want you to trash your house with this one goal. And now, what do I mean by that? I mean, put that goal everywhere so you can see it. Put it on Post-it notes and stick it on your bathroom mirror. Write it on your office. Put it on your phone and your computer screens. Put it everywhere where you can see it. Put it on the refrigerator door. Put it on the door leaving your house, like all over the house. Trash your house with your goal. And that's going to keep it in the forefront of your brain and remind you all the time that's the thing you're working on. And I have a story to share about this. So I learned all about goal setting and trashing your house with your goals and all of those kind of things back in my direct selling days. And I used to listen to, all these CDs or cassettes way back in the day in the car all the time. So my youngest son, Jacob, he was 3 when I started my business in direct sales. So he couldn't help. He was always, not by choice, but because he was hanging with me or driving in the car with me or at home with me, he heard all these motivational speakers and all these tapes I was listening to all the time. So he caught the idea of goal setting and putting your goal where you could see it. And I will never forget the day that I came home and Jacob had trashed the house with his goal. You see, at that point, he was early teenager. I don't remember exactly the year this happened or the age he was, but he had been competing in Lake Placid. We're like 2.5 hours away from Lake Placid, where we live in New York. And he started off being a junior bobsledder, if you remember the movie Cool Runnings, like that. And then he moved into, when he turned 16, to become a skeleton athlete. And skeleton, if you're not familiar, is they are going down the same track as the bobsled, but now they're on what looks like a flexible flyer sled on their belly, head first on their belly. So he was competing and he had a goal to go to the Olympics. I think maybe he was 14, 15 at this point in his career. No, I don't know. I don't know the time frame. It doesn't really matter. But I came home one day and I noticed all over the house, there were little bitty stickers that he had, I don't remember now if he had printed them out or he just drew them, but they were taped and they were little bitty, like I'm talking about 1/2 inch by 1 inch long. And it was just 2010 Olympic symbols all over our house. It was on the refrigerator. It was on the bathroom, in the bathroom mirror. It was on the staircase, the railing on the staircase. And he just taped these little 2010 Olympic symbols everywhere around the house. I think there had to be 20 to 30 of them. Like they were tiny, but they were just all over. And I was so proud of him at that moment because he had caught this idea of setting a goal and keeping it in front of himself. Now, did he make it to the 2010 Olympics? No, he didn't. But here's the thing. The 2010 Olympics were set to be in Canada. And they were in Canada in 2010, the Winter Olympics. He didn't make that. But you know what? He did compete in skeleton racing and represented the USA team in Canada. So he did achieve part of the goal. He never made it to the Olympics, but he had a great run, literally and figuratively, as a USA skeleton athlete. He competed for quite a few years, and it was just an amazing time. But the whole point was he learned how to set goals and to keep his goal in front of him. While you're setting your 2025 one thing goal and thinking about what to let go of, if you're like me, right now after the holidays, it's time to let go of all of the extra sugar I've been eating between my awesome bourbon pecan chocolate pie and all the cookies I've been eating and just all the wrong things. It's time to step it back into letting go of that and stepping into a goal of eating healthier. And along with that, it's getting back into the habit of drinking my Magic Mind performance shot every morning. And I love the Magic Mind. I've been talking about it on the show for the last couple of months, but it helps with mental clarity, motivation, mood enhancement, less stress, and calm energy. Has natural ingredients in it like ashwagandha, lion's mane, and just things that are just so good for your body. So cut out the sugar and step into a better habit. But the other thing I love about this company is if you know someone who struggles, and I think we all do, with mental health crisis, they are supporting that as well. And they give back 5 cents for every bottle sold to mental health charities and services that assist impoverished and homeless communities within the United States. So every time you're drinking your Magic Mind little bottle, you can know that not only are you doing something good for your own body, but you're doing something good for communities across the United States and helping somebody in a mental health crisis. If you're ready to try Magic Mind for yourself, head over to www.magicmind.com/DYC. Use my code DYC20 and you'll receive 20% off your first order of Magic Mind. Let me know what you think. So keep your one goal in front of you. Trash your house. And you know what? I would love it if you took a picture of your Post-it notes, or maybe you do like Jake and just tape little symbols all over the house so you know what it means. Take a picture of it, post it on social media, and tag me in it. I'm just at Sherry Miter, SHERIMITER. Tag me in it. I would love to see the trashed houses, and I'll share mine with you as well. I'm going to put $100,000 all over the house for the goal. Okay, tip number 2. So that's tip number 1. What's the one thing? Just set one goal this year that if you achieve that one goal, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. And then trash your house with it. Tip number 2. What do you need to let go of in 2025 to make room for more? Because here's the thing. If we want to achieve more, we want to have more, we want to accomplish something different, we need to let go of something. We need to make the space for it. Leo, and I'm probably going to butcher his name here, Babauta of the blog Zen Habits shares, simplicity boils down to 2 things: identifying the essential and eliminate the rest. So what do you need to eliminate in 2025? What isn't serving you anymore? What have you been doing that you just don't even enjoy anymore? What's taking up so much time, energy, mental bandwidth that you can't focus on your passion project? What is it that if you got rid of it, you would have the time, energy, and mental bandwidth to accomplish your one thing goal? Now, for me, after doing some deep thinking and soul searching, I realize the one thing I need to let go of right now, I don't think it's going to be for the entire year, is this podcast. It takes a lot of time, energy, and brain power each week for me to come up with and record and do the show notes and social media posts about the podcast, not to mention answering all the emails I get every week with people pitching why I should have this person as a guest on my show. It takes a lot of time and energy, and just like I said, that mental energy to do this podcast every week. And I love being here and sharing with all of you that take the time to listen every week. But I realize it's the one thing that I need to let go of for short term in order to accomplish the other goals. I need to put that time and energy and bandwidth into finishing my book, creating all the things I need to go along with the book, and most importantly, getting my Discovering Your Calling Academy course all set up and out there and promoting it. That's the thing that's going to help me hit that goal of making $100,000. As podcasts cost me money every week, it doesn't make me any money. Yes. Have I picked up a few clients here or there? Yes. So I love sharing information with you all listening here, and especially those that show up every week to hear the podcast and support the podcast and share the podcast. But I realize it's the thing I need to let go right now. And that's the hard thing, is sometimes what we realize we need to let go of, it's something we enjoy. It's fun. It impacts others. So making that decision to stop doing it can be very hard to make. But if we want to achieve the one goal, we have to make the hard decisions. Now, I don't know if I'm going to let this podcast go for 3 months, 6 months. I don't really think it's going to be the entire year. I think once I get things set up, I can come back to recording episodes. I don't know. I'm going to be open to just letting that play out the way it should. But what is that? And more about the podcast in a minute, but I want to come back to you. So for you, what is that thing that you know deep in your gut you need to let go of in 2025. And again, it doesn't have to be forever, just for now so that you can accomplish your one thing goal. So really contemplate that. And like I said, that's usually a much harder decision to make than setting the goal itself. But if we don't clear the space and empty the space, that's where we don't have balance. That's where you're going to struggle to figure out, how do I have the time to achieve the one thing goal? So we need to clear the space, and that's how you're going to have success and that balance or harmony you're looking for in 2025. So let's just stop here and review. First of all, close out 2024 with a grateful heart. What are the things you're grateful for that happened in 2024? Number 2, what is that one thing you want to accomplish or start doing in 2025 that will nudge you and excite you out of your comfort zone? And number 3, what do you need to let go of in 2025 to make room for more or space to do the one thing goal? And number 4, trash your house with your goals so that it reminds you what that goal is and you don't get distracted by all the other shiny things happening out there. And again, I would love to see a picture of that. So tag me, post it on social media, and tag me at Sherry Miter, and that's Instagram or Facebook. You can also email me and just let me know, what are your goals? At sherry@discoveringyourcalling.com. Now, as I close out this final episode of 2024 and the final episode as I take this pause from the podcast, like I said, I don't think it's a never coming back. I think it's just a pause for now. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you all for listening to the Discovering Your Calling podcast. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. You know, we're in 86 countries. I just checked this morning, 86 countries and over 1,325 cities across the globe. There's somebody in like 1,300 cities that listen to this podcast. I think that's so cool. And since 2022, which is when I switched to the Buzzsprout platform, there's been 16,000 downloads of this podcast. Now, there's over 290 episodes that I've recorded over the course of 4 years of podcasting. We started off uncharted entrepreneurs. We switched to navigating your leadership and now discovering your calling. Tons on Clifton Strengths, tons on all these other topics. So while I'm taking this break, go back and find some old episodes. Listen to them. You got a ton of episodes to listen to. So I hope you don't disappear from the Discovering Your Calling podcast. I hope you just stay listening to some older, watch the review or watch the replays, watch the old retakes of things. There's some pretty funny ones out there because I was not that great in the beginning. I listened to some old ones. I'm like, oh my God, that was horrible. But the topics, the information is good. But anyway, they're there for you to keep listening to the show. I also would love it if you did, connect with me. Let's be friends on social media. I hang out at Facebook mostly, but I'm going to try to do a little bit more on Instagram because I'll have the time now. And most importantly, make sure you're on my email list if you want to stay in the know and follow along when the book comes out, the Discovering Your Calling book. And late winter, early spring, and of course, when the Discovering Your Calling Academy course goes live, hopefully by February. So my friend, I want to just tell you that I hope you do have a blessed and happy new year, and that you do figure out what is your one thing goal, and you also take the time to figure out what you need to let go of. And when you do those 2 things, those are the only 2 things you need to do to have a successful and balanced 2025. I'll see you back here some point in the future. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Thank you for spending this time with me. My hope is something you heard today inspires you to take action toward discovering your calling. I just have 2 favors to ask of you before you go. 1, if you found value and enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you might hear your review read on a future episode. And 2, can you share this episode with 3 friends who will also enjoy it as much as you did? By doing these things, you will help us grow the podcast to make a bigger impact on the world. And until next week, remember, you've been created to live a life of fulfillment, freedom, purpose, success, and joy.